The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Sorry.
John always have a laugh on that opening. I think we did a good job.
Yeah.
Well, it's Table Topics, and we're back for one more show. We tape this show every 2 weeks. As you know, we've been in and off because of the construction here at the BCC. But now I think they all set. They did all the upgraded cool. on the electric and all of that. So I think we're good now, and I think we can start following and taping the shows now, and putting the shows up. Again, thank you for FRC Media for this opportunity, and thank you, Stephen. Today it's Stephen on the board there. I guess Michelle had the day off today.
No, I think she had some car work or something, but too much information.
A problem with her car, but that's okay. We all have those days. And but we're here, and we hope that we have a good topic for today. We sometimes go in and out at different topics for a little bit, but today our topic is, John?
Well, I don't know if it's going to cover the whole show, but every once in a while, and I appreciate you letting me do this, I want to show what's happening outside of the United States. We have a lot of craziness here in the U.S., but there's a lot of craziness in other countries. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what's actually going on now in South Africa. What's happened is the Parliament is putting together a package to see how they can expropriate land away from private citizens and give it back to the state or to the government. So they've been going all over the country, and they've been having these public hearings, getting citizens' input as to how this is going on. But there's one group in South Africa, the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, that have been creating a lot of chaos. And they have been for a few years now, and you know, I believe they cover 6 to 8% of the electorate, but they get a lot of immediate attention because of some of the outrageous things the head of this group, Julius Malema, comes out with. And what I find kind of amazing is that there's very little international attention to this. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very little is out there, and.
So why you think that is happening?
I think I think
for us to have a better understanding, because I don't know much about.
Yeah.
So for me to have a better understanding, I think I need a little bit of background, how this whole thing started and what they're trying to accomplish.
You're talking about the government.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
Like this whole thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically what's happened is since their independence in 1994, mm-hmm. And at that time we had Nelson Mandela, they had a peaceful transition from the old apartheid government to the Rainbow Nation government. Mm-hmm. And what's happened is that, you know, people still own their property, they kept their property. And the majority population is black, and then colored, then it's white and Indian, people from India. So there are different statistics as to what's going on with the unemployment. Right now, the unemployment rate's around 25–30% there. So there's a lot of chaos. There are work things that stop, like the electric will just not work. And this used to be a first world country probably 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So just things like that are happening. There's a lot of corruption, a lot of money being stolen from the country. So we have that transition. And what you're getting is you get a lot of hysteria that the minority populations, white and Indian, have all the power because they have all the money. But the government is the majority of the government is a black government, you know, run by the majority black. So now what's happened is, since the economy is in shambles, their dollar used to be, they call it the rand, was their dollar. It used to be equal to America, to our US dollar. Now the rand is worth 13, so if we go over there for $1, we get 13.73 of their rand. So it's just crazy, your money. I mean, if you look at real estate there, for a $300,000 house, you pay $5 million of their money. So to see the rand equal $1, and now it's 13, so there's a lot of political turmoil. And what they've felt is that the majority of the land, they say, is held by these white farmers, and a lot of it is commercial farming. And they feel that a lot of people disenfranchised, they have no land, so they figure if they have the land, they'll have power. But the problem is that I believe they're being misled, because the land is going to be expropriated without compensation. So you own something, they're taking it away, and they're putting in their constitution that any property could be taken away. So people that live in the urban cities like Cape Town, Johannesburg, they think that their houses won't be taken away, but when they change this article in the Constitution, this means that the government can just come in and take the property and do what they want with it. You know, they say they're going to redistribute it to everybody, but it's never going to be owned by them.
So I think Nicaragua is going through the same thing.
I'm not
now,
sure,
because I saw something on TV that you know, the guy in power there, after so many years, he came back and he really,
maybe they're doing that, yeah.
he really changing everything again, and he become like the man in power.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing I think that they're not thinking about this, and I've been watching some of the meetings that they've been having, what they're not thinking about is that if you go into someone and you go to this farmer and you say, we're taking your land, now this farmer's probably been in their family for 200 years, but they're saying that when the Europeans, when the Dutch went over, the English, the Portuguese, when they went over, they stole the land from Native people, which is not true, because there were really only one small group of Native people back in the 1600s. So there's a lot of rhetoric that's coming out by them, but I don't think they realize how it will collapse the country if you start doing that, because you figure farmers own the land, but farmers have loans out for tractors, for equipment. When they stop paying that, or when they stop paying on their farm, what happens? If you have 20 or 30,000 farmers that stop paying on that, the banks are going to collapse. There's going to be no way that they can, because why are you going to pay? Well, first of all, you're not going to have a job because they're taking your farm away, so you can't be there anymore. And then you owe money. You're going to be able to, how are you going to live? You're not going to be paying these loans. So if everybody does that, which they're going to, they have no means to pay it, the economy is going to collapse. So I think people are starting to see the writing on the wall, and supposedly the end of the month, Parliament is going to put all these meetings together. They've got all this public input, and then they're going to decide how they're going to move forward with this. So,
so you have a couple of clips.
I have a couple clips on different. The first one we're going to show, and you know, I think part of the reason why I'm going to show you a couple clips that this head of Parliament goes out, Julius Malema, what he says, and I think that's part of why, you know, some of the things he says the Western media refuses to show. It's on their media there, but you don't see it here. You don't see it on the BBC. You do see it on RT, you know, which is the Russian television network. You do see things like that on there. But other than that, you won't see it here in the U.S. So I think if you take a look at it, you know, what's right is right. You know, the apartheid thing was not a good thing. They were separate. People weren't treated well, you know, but it's not right to be going the opposite spectrum, because you're never going to have any peace. And if your family's been there since 1650 or 1750, you have just as much of a right to stay there as people that are there now. And a lot of the majority African population are not from South Africa. They immigrated from Ethiopia, Tanzania. They all came down south. So it's really one group's country, and they're a very, very small minority in that country. So they all got to learn to get along. However, when you see this clip about the head of the EFF, you're going to see he's not making it easy.
Let's.
What I heard about what white people are saying.
Well, this
Literally,
sorry,
white people,
this
they
actually
don't
is
work with, black people.
this is actually a meeting. Oh, okay. Sorry, we're gonna get the clip in there. Sorry, that was the last clip. Sorry, I must have messed Steve up today. But we're gonna see the two clips on Julius Malema, and he's gonna talk about. Yep, here we go. He was interviewed here by, I believe, an Indian.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we've not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies. Cry babies.
I'm not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now.
I can't give you a guarantee of the future, especially when things are going the way they are.
Subtext.
Especially if things are going the way they are, there will be a revolution in this country, I can tell you now. There will be an unled revolution. An unled revolution is the highest form of anarchy.
Okay, and this clip I get, I don't watch as much news anymore in the U.S. anymore.
Oh, really?
I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, which, you know, and you can look at, you can watch live news at that time. I watch news in South Africa, England, Australia, New Zealand. They seem to tell you a little bit more of what's going on, but why wouldn't we hear about something like that? This man saying, wait, we're not calling for any kind of revolution yet. Can you imagine if someone said that in this country or in the UK? So he's not helping the situation, and his party, along with the ANC, which is the African National Congress, they've really been pushing this land issue, they call the land issue. So he's really been pushing this to the end. There's another quick clip that we can play, and it's going to talk about one of a rally that his group had, the EFF. They had a rally, and this is some of the rhetoric that's thrown out there, which again is not helping the situation. And I think you would start preparing for the worst if you lived in the country. And a lot of people are trying to get out, but you know, by coming to another country, you got to get approval to get in there, and Australia's trying to do that, but there's only so many people you can take. And some people, it's like, here, if you've been here since 1600, your family, you don't, you know, you want to leave another country and go. So, but it is, if you watch this next clip, it is kind of ominous, to say the least.
We don't beg whites, we don't care about their feelings. They've made us suffer for a very long time. Yes. It's our turn now. They must be happy. We're not beating them up. They must be happy. We're not calling for genocide. We're exercising our political freedom. And we're hating them the most. How can I go Twitter no? Any feelings Makua after expropriation of land without compensation. We are exercising political power. It is more hurtful. It is more painful than a gun. It is more painful than a spear. We hurt you and take from you without a drop of blood. That's the power of democracy. That's who we are. We don't subscribe to violence. We don't subscribe to brutality. We subscribe to the exercising of our political freedom, and we stretch it to the limit. When people say it can't work, we demonstrate to them that it can work. We are now getting land in our lifetime. Our children are going to worship us forever. Well, this was a powerful generation that brought the land back to the people, back to the rightful owners, without genocide, without a drop of blood.
So that's a small group. I mean, again,
it's a group in Parliament that has power. It's 6 to 7%. But what's happened now is the African National Congress
Well, they
has kind of
they had about 300 people there,
Yeah.
400 people there.
at that, yeah, that's one little town, you know. But the majority vote comes from the African National Congress. They probably have roughly 65% of vote in Parliament. So if you put that together with the EFF, that's 70% of the vote they have roughly. Because the ANC now is backing that group. They're kind of merging, even though they say they don't want to have anything to do with each other. They both agree on the expropriation of land. So like I said, can you imagine? The government comes in, they change the Constitution, they say now there is no such thing as land. You know, there's no ownership of land. We own it now. And they go in and they tell you to leave. I don't think it's going to end up really pretty, you know. So hopefully, and like I said, I don't think people realize, they think it's just the farms. But when you change that in the Constitution that says the government can expropriate land, property, right? You go to court, they'll say land's property, whatever. They can just go in and take people's houses. So it's a very slippery slope. And as I've been watching some of these meetings, you hear the rhetoric where, you know, his group, EFF, a lot of the people come out and say, they stole the land from us and now we're coming back for it. And then you hear the farmers that are coming out and saying, look, you know, we've been here, we've owned this, we still have, some of them have mortgages on the property. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes about. We have one other clip, and this last clip is one of the meetings, because they've been going all over the country. It's a pretty decent sized country. So they've been going all over the country to basically go like we do here, city council meetings, public input as to what that is. Some of the meetings are like 3 and 4 hours long. So,
Steve, if you can roll the last video.
Yeah, I can keep on
But I
talking.
heard
Oh, here we
about
go.
what white people are saying. Literally, white people, they're not prepared to work with black people. And they are not prepared to actually sit down and find ways on how to actually deal with the question of land. What we are saying as black people is that let's give the land to the government. Let the land belong to the government, and thereafter, when a person wants to use the land, you come to the government with a reason why you want to use for that land.
First of all, I don't think all the black people support the expropriation without compensation, because I think they also have risks, because what's going to happen if they lose their jobs? And there are also black people who own land.
The majority of white people, most of them are saying they don't want the constitution to change. And like myself, I agree with them.
They are actually stingy. They are comfortable, and they think that once black people occupy land, then it's done with them, because they know that land is power, land is food, and land is the economy. Economy still belongs to white people. And now we are saying, let's share this economy, both white and black. They are not prepared.
I think the government is in the wrong here, because I support land reform. I support it, of course. But the government didn't do it properly. So first of all, before they want to expropriate without compensation, I'll say go back to the land reform and check what you can do there to make it better. And then, if that doesn't work, then we should go back to the drawing table.
If people are corrupt, how are they going to share this land? So that's our problem. So if they were saying, okay, we're going to give the title deeds to the community, then we were going to support that. If they were saying, okay, if any person want to take to get the land, then it's fine. You can go and get the land, as long as you will produce the land. But people are just saying that we want to take the land without producing. That's our problem.
Now that's their 24 news station, South Africa. It's like a CNN, Fox News. So yeah, as you can see, it's a mess.
Yeah.
To say the
I
least.
mean, every time that you get that you try to get land back, it's always, doesn't matter what country you are.
Yeah.
you know, that's a mess.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to have, I mean, that happened to America at one point.
Yep.
We did talk land away from people.
Yeah.
And you know, decades, centuries are gone, and we're still talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's something that stays, not just with history, but stays with the country.
Yeah. What amazes me though is, and this, they said it more in this video, is that the government will take over the land.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that communism or socialism?
Mm-hmm.
And how has that been working in the country? They have an unemployment rate of 25%. They have 19,000 murders every year. The crime and violence, if you watch some of the news there was literally a video I was watching the other day on their news where people in rush hour traffic, person comes up to the car window, bashes it, pulls the door open and starts pulling things out of the car. This is in traffic where people are going 10 miles an hour, runs across the highway. There's just no, you know what I mean, people can't get out of their cars and help, but it's just total chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find it amazing that the last Prime Minister, Zuma, there stole billions of rand of their money. And the people are still thinking this government is going to help them. There's so much corruption and they stole all this money. The money has devalued to like no extent. And they still think the answer is that this present government is going to help. I just find that amazing, you know. But
so what do you think the?
I mean,
I know the end of something that big. It's not tomorrow.
Yeah,
but
it's going to happen. I think by next year, probably by the beginning of 2019, I think there's going to be issues over there for sure. Because I think when they start going into people's land and telling them when they have to leave, and they've been there for 100 years, 200 years, they have nowhere to go, there's going to be issues. I just know, and I don't think the police service can't keep up with the crime there right now. That's how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
They have riots in cities because the electric went out or the electric's too high, and they'll just riot for 3 or 4 days, and the police cannot deal with that right now. So can you imagine when the government comes in and just does this? And what's happening there now too is that people are just going onto people's lands out in the country and they're just putting like a tent there and saying, this is my little part of land now, this is mine. Even though the person that still owns it's over there, and the police, it takes them weeks to clear them out. So it is a mess. I just pray that everything goes okay for that country, because if they have an issue where you know what I mean, they take over the land, the economy collapses.
Have a civic war on their hands?
I think it's probably inevitable. I mean, unless the government starts changing or they come to their right mind with Parliament. You know what I mean? Parliament's got to come and say, you know what, we've got to, and they did, they were starting land reforms, but it was so slow, the process. And it's because a lot of times when people do have a claim, they don't want the land back. They want the money.
Because, I mean,
you know?
I can see whatever it's holding over there, it's this government.
Yeah. Because
if the government it let go, then will be...
It's going to be anarchy over there.
Exactly. It's going to be just like Orleans when we had the work in there.
Yeah.
You know, they knew that the government could not, was not there, could not enforce laws.
Yep.
You know what happened. So they just went in stores, break windows, took everything out. So that's exactly what I can see happening there.
Yeah, and you know, the problem is, I think they got to look at this another way. If you totally destroy everything and you get the land, and then nobody knows how to work the land, and that happened in their neighboring country, Zimbabwe. They went in, and there was a small minority of farmers there, but they went in and took the land. If the people didn't leave, they shot them dead. So anybody that was smart, that had the means at that point, immigrated to Europe, Australia, New Zealand, some to the US. And what happened was, though, the majority of people left Zimbabwe because they still don't even use their own money. They use US dollars. So they came into South Africa. So they got more people.
So even if they want to reach out to different countries, it's nothing that the countries can do because that's their law. They're following the books. They're following the law. So it's even if another country wants to get there and get some boots on the ground and trying to help, you know, they can because they're following.
Yeah, that's what the majority says, you know, when the majority rules. And I mean, hey, it's the country. I just feel bad for the people that have lived there for 300. Stuff is going on there now where they burn cars. Like, you know, this is like happening every day. Cape Town's a pretty big town. They're a big tourist area, but it's slowing down because some people, if you're going to go there, you watch the news to see what's going on, but daily they're burning like the subway cars or the train cars that go between Cape Town and the suburbs. Every day there's a fire there that they just burn them up. It's just, they're just doing crazy things that you're destroying infrastructure. For what reason are you destroying infrastructure? It doesn't make any sense, you know. But it's a mess. What's funny is there are a group of farmers, and they're part of this civil defense group. They've been planning for years, thinking this was going to happen. So they pretty much have pulled sources together and the money that they have, and they've come to the U.S. They've been on Fox News. They're not going to be on CNN, obviously, but Tucker Carlson had them on there. So they're trying to gain money, and their plan is that when things go crazy, they're going to all try to meet in a certain area.
How long do you think this has been happening?
Oh, this has been going on. This has been going on since the independence, since 1994. It's just got really bad in the last, I'd say, 5 years. I mean, there are things that are going on out in these farms, out in the middle of nowhere, where people go in and they say, some people are saying they think the government's implicit in this and they're working at it. They will go in, and I'll just give you one quick gory story. They went into this farm, and they don't just kill people. It's like torture. So they went in. This couple had, well, first they killed the husband. Then they took the baby, a 3-year-old baby, and 4 people raped her on a table. And they killed the mother. They made the mother watch that. They killed the baby. But before they killed the baby, they threw her in like a hot vat of like grease or something. They just do torturous things. They pull people's eyeballs out. It's like unreal. It's like when you watch these things, that would be on a horror story. And I don't even know if they do anything that bad in a horror movie. It's that some of these things are just that bad. You know, and this is the funny part. I was reading a newspaper where it said, it's pretty bad when we say that wasn't a bad murder. Just going in and shooting a family, that wasn't a bad murder, you know. But it's really, and it's not only there, it's in the cities now. It's happening too, you know.
It sounds to me like this it's like a snowball, and this ball has been rolling for a while, and it's getting big.
Yeah.
And the more people that get involved, and the more people, and the group gets bigger too. It's even government's going to have a hard time to stop it. If they realize at one point, they say, you know, wait a minute, we cannot do this.
Yeah.
That they could be in a bad situation. They cannot stop the ball.
Yeah, I think the ball, because the new president, they had this guy Zuma, and really, to be honest with you, from what I followed, when Nelson Mandela left office, that's when it started progressing faster. You know, he was trying to bring people together. You know, I really believe that when you see some of the things, he was trying his best. You know, did he have faults? Yes, he did. When you look at some of the things, he was pretty much a communist. So that, you know, people don't want to live in communist countries, especially if you've lived in a capitalist society where you have skyscrapers and, you know, all these nice things that we have in the West. So, but
it's funny because this that I watched today about Nicaragua, I watched it at the Brazil station.
Yeah.
So it's when you go to these different countries, TV shows and stuff, that you learn a lot of this stuff that's going on in different countries.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So,
oh wow, that was quick.
Wow, 30 minutes, and yeah, it was very interesting topic, and I'm happy that you keep your eye on
Cool.
and just keep us
appreciate
informed.
letting me do it.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks for one more show of the table topic.
Good night.